Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Billy Murphy, and I'm a lawyer, and I am pleased to be joined by one of our best trial lawyers, Malcolm Ruff, and I want to thank our partners and friends for joining us today, starting with NAACP State Conference Executive Board member Nashona Kess. Ms. Kess, would you raise your hand? And likewise for everybody else. CASA lead organizer Jorge Benitez. Jorge, would you raise your hand? The Coalition of Concerned Mothers of Prince George's County, would the rep raise her hand? And the ACLU of Maryland. We want to thank all of them for coming out here, and I want to introduce you to our clients. And as I've mentioned your name, would you please raise your hand? Ms. Erica Umana, Ms. Erika Irazo Sanchez, Ms. Derry Amaya Benitez, and Mr. Brandon Cuevas. Did I get the pronunciations right?
Almost.
Almost. Now, today we stand before you to announce that we have filed a $16 million lawsuit to recover damages from the Prince George's County Police Department. Our complaint alleges that our clients, Ms. Umana, Ms. Sanchez, Ms. Benitez, and Mr. Cuevas, were deprived of their basic Fourth Amendment rights and forcibly, at the hands of the Prince George's County Police, suffered life-changing trauma after 3 officers illegally, without a warrant, entered their home, brutalized them, falsely arrested them, threatened them, and killed Ms. Umana's beloved dog, Hennessy, right in front of them on June 2nd, 2021. We're going to show you a tape, and it's an ugly situation, deserving of every penny that we're demanding from the county. And we're here to make known that the Prince George's County Police Department has not yet completed the job of reform. They still do ugly things to citizens. There's a pattern and practice that we outline in our lawsuit of the various horrors that they've inflicted on the citizens of Prince George's County, notwithstanding successful lawsuits and settlements that we have filed against them on numerous occasions, and notwithstanding the Prince George's County government's commitment to clean up the department. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Malcolm Ruff, who will lay out in greater detail and introduce the other participants in this sad day, a day that we hope will be remembered as a low point in the Prince George's County Police Department's history. Mr. Ruff?
Thank you, Billy. As Mr. Murphy mentioned, my name is Malcolm Ruff, first of all. I'm a trial lawyer at the Murphy firm in Baltimore. And once again, we're here in Prince George's County filing another civil rights federal lawsuit against the county for utter misconduct. June 2nd, 2021, Corporals Jason Ball, Corporal Jackson, and Corporal Joseph Mihanda, Anthony Jackson, and Corporal Joseph Mihanda illegally broke into these 4 young people's apartment without any legal justification. Astoundingly, these PGPD officers broke into their home by obtaining the master key from a maintenance worker at their apartment complex, all just to investigate an alleged dog biting incident. What happened after that was nothing short of utter chaos created solely by these brazen, retaliatory, and completely unauthorized actions of these disrespectful officers. Unlike the numerous cases that Mr. Murphy mentioned before that we've brought against the county, in this situation, this incident was captured not only on cell phone, but also on body-worn camera. And so at this time, I'm going to play a compilation of just some of the footage of this heinous incident, which these four brave young folk were forced to endure. Can you go back? Can you go back? Mike, can you go back?
This would be open. This would be
Can you go all the way back to the beginning?
It's open all the time. Because you're trespassing. Use your phone and
Thank you.
Google trespassing. What Google those words? Google. And I'll be petty. Call maintenance, say goodbye, have them go in your apartment. All because they don't want to answer questions. Now, how are you, sir? We need access to one of the apartments here. Now, rather than taking the dollars, you about to catch charges for something silly. But the police are the back now, right? Trust me, I'm 0 to 100. So, it's hood rules. You know how it works. Come on now, this ain't new. Access. PGPD. Hey, PGPD. PGPD, you coming out? We coming in. Make up your mind.
I don't need a woman. You got proper calls.
Maintenance, open the door. You take that issue with them. Hey.
Come on out. Come on out. Come on out. Come on out. Come on out.
Come on out. Come on out.
I'm right here.
Come on.
All the way out. All the way out.
From what?
All the way out.
Let's go.
You don't have a warrant. I'm gonna call it. No, I'm calling 911.
That's what you were on.
I'm calling 911.
Stop. Step outside.
PGPD.
Step outside. Step outside.
Siri, call 911. This is my house. Why are you pushing me out?
Put your hand because you don't stop.
Because this is my house. You don't have a warrant to step in here.
Outside.
Siri, call 911. Please harass. Hello.
What are you doing?
No, I live here.
Your body is safe. Step outside.
No, I live here.
Someone else in that room. Come on.
There's somebody else in the room. You don't have them.
You have to go.
Look.
Can't be in the apartment.
Look.
Go in.
Yep. He just touched me. You saw me him drag me out, guys. I'm here. Oh, no. He's here. Can you guys go out? I'm here. You're harassing me.
Step outside. Step outside. Step outside.
You don't have a warrant.
Step outside.
Here. Yo, I live here.
Can he ask you a question? These children these days, man.
I think I've watched that video over 100 times. And even today, it's very difficult to watch. I've gotten to know these young people for the past 2 years. And there is no reason under the sun that they should have ever been treated the way that the county police treated them. This all started because of an alleged incident of a dog bite, which is not a crime. It all really started because of that unsavory officer, the unprofessional officer. Some might use four-letter words to describe that officer, Corporal Jason Ball, the one in the black mask, who came to that location, this apartment complex, looking to be a problem, looking to violate these people, looking to violate anyone. He was very clear from the very beginning. When he arrived on scene, he came across Erica Sanchez, and he started to harass her. He accused her of trespassing on the property. He didn't even know who she was or whether she was involved with why he was there. As you saw in the video, Corporal Ball told Corporal Ball that she didn't understand why he was bothering her, and he crassly told her to Google the word trespassing. Then when both Ericas, Erica Umana, who's here with Erica Sanchez, they confronted him about his harassing conduct, and he told them to Google the word intimidation. So then Officer Mihanda arrives as the Ericas are leaving. The officers knock on our client's door, and as they wait, you heard the officer say, and we can play it back if necessary, but he says, "This would be open, by the way, now, if it wasn't for," and he points at his chest where his body camera is. Then he says, "I used to open them all the time." This was not an isolated incident. Corporal Ball was referring to opening the door, and he had done this on numerous occasions before. When they received no answer, Corporal Ball stated verbatim, "Now I'm going to be petty. Call maintenance, stand by, have them go in the apartment, all because they don't want to answer questions." They went back outside, they flagged down a maintenance worker, they requested that he get them the master key, and he came back and gave them the master key so that they could get in. But while they waited for him, you heard them say some other things. Corporal Ball says, and he's actually talking to the cousin of the alleged dog bite victim, who was the woman that was in that shot. "Now, rather than taking the dogs, you're about to catch charges for something silly, but the police are the bad guys." What charges? There was no crime committed. He said, "It's hood rules. You know how it works. Come on, this ain't new." Is this the kind of policing that you expect from your county police officers? Someone who, while on the scene, says, "Trust me, I'm 0 to 100. They then called Corporal Jackson to come back them up at the scene. Once they got the key, they went back to our client's apartment and got no answer at the door again. And Officer Mihanda casually, with no hesitation, opens illegally the home of these 4 young people with no warrant. And it's important to note that based on Fourth Amendment law, from this very moment forward, because they were then illegally in our client's home, every use of their police authority from that point on was unlawful because they were unlawfully on this premises. These officers should have known that, but they simply didn't care, and they clearly were not trained thoroughly in the authority that they had under the Fourth Amendment. Once they got inside, they started yelling at Diary and Brandon through the bedroom door for them to come out. And Diary, properly, who's not a police officer, she's not a lawyer, she said, "Do you have a warrant?" Officer Mihanda responds, "We don't need a warrant. We have probable cause." Well, let us be very clear right now. They did not have any probable cause as to any crime. And then Corporal Ball said that the maintenance worker had actually let them in. But that was a lie. It was Officer Mihanda. Diary ended up coming out of the bedroom, but not before calling the Ericas who had walked out of the apartment complex to come back because the police were in their house. And she had no idea why. You see in the video, Officer Mihanda grab and wrench Diary's arm behind her back while she's protesting. "You don't have a warrant. I'm about to call 911. This is my house. Why are you pushing me out?" The Ericas then come back to the house. Erica Sanchez walks right into the house, right past Corporal Ball, and the other officers order her to get out of her own place. When she didn't, Corporal Ball, as you saw, forcibly grabs her, pushes her out of her own place into the hallway and locks her out. Corporal Jackson is on the other side of the door, holding the door closed. So then Mihanda tries to push Diary out of the apartment as well, but she refuses. He grabs her and pushes her, as you saw, up onto the kitchen counter, and then throws her onto the floor and yells, "I'm not the one. I'll knock you out." What kind of attitude is that for a police officer to have? Not a police officer that's going to abide by the law. The Ericas heard that and squeezed past Corporal Jackson into the apartment. Ball instructed Jackson to arrest Erica Umana, so he grabbed her, and as you saw, he slams her onto her butt. And that's when you hear Diary yelling. She has a broken arm, trying to get these officers to show some sort of compassion, some sort of humanity. Instead, Corporal Ball points his taser directly in Erica Umana's face. Brandon heard the commotion. He comes out of the bedroom. And as he comes out, their dog Hennessy also slips out of the door. And she trots right past Officer Mihanda. So there was no fear of her attacking. If she was going to attack someone, she would have attacked Corporal Mihanda right as she came out of the bedroom. She walks right past that officer. But these officers are so hyped up and panicked, and they yell, "Get the dog." Or maybe it was even, I thought I heard them say, "Shoot the dog." And suddenly, they shoot poor Hennessy in the back with their surface weapons, Corporal Jackson and Officer Mihanda. And Corporal Ball shot her with a taser. And then you hear Erica and Diary wailing in anguish. You see in the video that Hennessy didn't attack anyone. Erica trying to comfort Hennessy, but she was permanently paralyzed and had to be put down. The officers then falsely arrested them, placed them in PG County squad cars for over an hour, and then realized, wait a minute, they haven't committed a crime, and had to let them go right there at the scene. But not before wrongfully detaining them for over an hour. And the thing that our clients remember the most about this incident is Corporal Ball's insensitive comment right after Hennessy had been shot. Well, that's what happens when you don't answer questions. They threw more salt in the wound. When they suspended Corporal Ball and Officer Mihanda because they realized that they had made an unauthorized entry into our client's home, but they suspended them with pay for the past 2 years. It wasn't even until September and October of this year that these officers were found guilty by a trial board of conduct unbecoming an officer. And their punishment has not been passed down. Further, their supervisors reviewed this incident for their uses of force and approved every use of force that you saw, every physical touching that they made of these people while they were unlawfully and illegally inside their home. The PG County supervisors approved every single one of them. When I saw that video, I had several questions. The most important question that I have for the Prince George's County Police Department is this. What kind of police culture do you have to establish for an officer to feel comfortable enough to break into someone's home without a warrant, without any exception to the Fourth Amendment warrant requirement, without any suspicion that a felony has been committed or is about to be committed, and in fact, without any suspicion of any crime being committed by anyone? Where would any police officer develop the unmitigated gall to compel a maintenance worker to give them the key to someone's apartment and with guns drawn, burst into the most private and constitutionally protected places on the planet, somebody's home? That's what happened to our clients. That's why we're here to claim justice for the pain, the anguish, the mental stress, and grief that they have gone through, and to which this county and the leaders of this department have turned a blind eye. The Fourth Amendment is clear. The warrant requirement shall not be violated. That's why we filed this 11-count civil rights lawsuit this morning. It alleges federal civil rights violations, Maryland constitutional rights violations, false arrests, false imprisonment, assault and battery, negligence, gross negligence, negligent hiring and training and supervision, and trespass to real property. We are seeking compensatory damages, punitive damages, and injunctive relief, including enhanced Fourth Amendment training of the entire Prince George's County Police Department and the implementation of a mandatory, innovative, personal development training module to improve police community communications. We will not be quiet about these abuses. Our clients suffered, and justice must be served, and we are supported by community advocates who will stand with these young people throughout this legal battle. So at this time, I want to introduce Jorge Benitez, lead community organizer for Prince George's County with CASA of Maryland, to offer some brief remarks in support of our clients. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Good afternoon. My name is Jorge Benitez Perez. I am the lead organizer for CASA in Prince George's County. CASA's mission is to build power and improve the lives of working class Black and brown communities we serve. Police abuse and police brutality is an issue we do not take lightly. CASA stands with Erika Humana, Erika Erazo Sanchez, Dairia Maya Benitez, Brandon Cuevas, and all Prince Georgians that are demanding peace and justice. We demand full accountability for the injustices committed by PGPD towards these young individuals who should have been protected, but instead were harmed by PGPD. CASA is here today, and we will also be here tomorrow, because we are not free until every single one of us is free. Thank you.
And next, I'll call Nashana Kess, who is an executive member of the NAACP Maryland State Conference.
On June 2nd, 2021, police officers who are sworn to respect the constitutional rights of all barged inside of a home which they did not own, a place where they did not have a right to be. They were not given consent, nor did they take the unmitigated necessary step to obtain a warrant, nor did they have any other legal reason to enter the home, yet they ignored all constitutional rights of the occupants when they entered the home, causing chaos and turmoil, and ultimately the death of the complainant's beloved dog. A dog that was simply barking because, hey, there were officers in their home, right? Without a badge, these officers would be trespassers. Without a badge, these officers would be called burglars. Without a badge, these officers will be called assailants. With a badge and without a warrant, they are trespassers. With a badge and without a warrant, they are burglars and assailants. Law enforcement officers should be held accountable when they break the law and cause harm to those who are affected, even while on the job. There must be a message sent that the county must do better through officer training, but also holding officers accountable and question for their illegal and unconstitutional actions, which can include up to termination. The county must push the message that bad actors, who are also police officers, will not be tolerated. These complainants not only lost their privacy and dignity, but they also lost their dog. The county must be held responsible for the damages that were caused by the officers. This is why Maryland NAACP calls for civilian oversight of law enforcement in addition to police accountability boards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney Kess. Now, I'd like to call someone who understands our client's pain personally, representing the Coalition of Concerned Mothers of Prince George's County. I'm going to call Marion Gray Hopkins, who will share with you all about her personal experience with Prince George's County and why it's important that the coalition is supporting our clients in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. As mentioned, I am the Executive Director of the Coalition of Concerned Mothers. It's an organization that is unfortunately comprised of mothers that have been impacted by police violence. More importantly, I am here today as the mother of Gary Hopkins, Jr., who on this day, 24 years ago, was executed by two Prince George's County police officers, Brian Catlett and Devin White. The culture is no different today than it was 24 years ago. Had they implemented the changes that they implemented when it went through the consent decree, maybe, just maybe, these clients here would not be in the situation and the need to be here today. I and the Coalition of Concerned Mothers stand with this family. As mentioned earlier, not only today, but going forward, I will be here because there need to be changes made. We're not asking for changes. We are demanding changes and know that the power is in the people, and we, the people, will stand together until change comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. And then lastly, as with our community advocates, I would call Sheila Colson as well to offer some words of support.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sheila Colson, and I'm the parent of Officer Jakai Colson, who was murdered in 2016. And I came down to support this family because I know what they're going through. But I want to say thank God none of your lives were taken. Amen. Thank God for that. And I'm here because every time I hear something dealing with the police, I get an email, and I come down to support. Just like my son, Taylor Krause murdered my son. He was the police officer that shot my son, who was identifying himself. And Taylor Krause completely ignored. There were so many laws broken, so many rules broken that day when it came to my son. And the police department and the leaders of this community did nothing. He was not indicted, and then they held him on long enough to get 10 years to retire him. Nothing is ever done to these police officers who are with police brutality. This has been going on more than 24 years. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., so I know what went on. Yeah. When my son decided to join the police department, I actually told him, you be careful, because Prince George's County Police Department, to me and to my family, even before his death, it's a racist department in Maryland. I don't care what ethnic leaders are in charge, they haven't done anything to clean up the police department. The police is supposed to be helpful, not beating you up, not killing you. Yeah. Their job is to protect, and they don't. Yeah. So I'm with you all the way. And I hope something is done. I think it was 2020 when the reform, they supposedly came out with a new 21 with a reform commission. Nothing's changed. So I want to thank Billy Murphy, and I want to thank Malcolm Ruff, because they were my attorneys too. Go get them.
Appreciate you, Sheila. Thank you. I would like to lastly call, before Billy closes us out, one of our 4 clients who will speak on behalf of all of them about their experience and about how this has affected them. So I'll call Erica Erazo Sanchez. And all of you, please come on up.
Thank you all for coming. I just want everyone to understand the terrible tragedy that, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, this isn't easy. I just want everyone to understand the terrible tragedy that happened to us all. And Henny and I will not stop telling her story until we get justice. Henny was the most uploving, upbeat friend I ever known, and tragically, she was murdered by the PG police, only an arm reach away. It was a nightmare. I held Henny's body, bloody body, while she was dying in my arms, while the rest of her family was wrongfully detained and denied ability to check on her. I no longer feel safe in the presence of the police officers, and I will never trust them ever again. I would not wish the pain and terror and emotional suffering we are going through on my worst enemy. I will never forget what happened to us and Henny, and it plays back in my mind every day. The physical, mental, and verbal abuse we had to go through was just despicable. Henny was a very special dog. She was a part of our family. She had a beautiful bond between us that can never be replaced. It is clear to me that the officers who violated us had more likely done this before. This was no mistake. The PG police lacked proper training and cold-heartedly came into our home without a warrant and murdered my child. Nothing will ever make the pain go away, nor the hurtful memories of the abuse we had to endure. Now that you have seen for yourself, for the PGPD mistreated us, I ask you to stand and support us, and support our effort to hold the PG County accountable. This is not just about us, but it's about everyone who has suffered dearly at the hands of the PG County Police. Thank you.
Last, I'll call Mr. Murphy to close us out.
In roughly 1776, when some of you were still alive or born, we had a revolution in this country. And that revolution occurred in strong measure because the King of England loved to do this kind of stuff to its colonists. Break into their homes without a warrant, without probable cause, without justification, and they were called writs of assistance. The colonists were so outraged about this that we had the American Revolution. Somehow, some of us, certainly no one in this room, have gotten used to this to the point where there's no longer outrage. Business as usual. And the fact that these are brown people, didn't help matters at all. And what puzzles me is knowing that they have body cameras on them that can record what they do and what they say, which reveals what they were thinking. How in the world can they ever justify doing something like this as flagrantly and as brazenly as they did, knowing that the public would have full access to every horrible thing they did here? Well, the answer is this wrongful, ugly culture of policing in Prince George's County is so strong that they gave that no second thought. They just did it anyway. And they did it because they believed they could get away with it. And so far they have. But that's why we file lawsuits. And we want to hit them harder than ever this time because they haven't grown up. They haven't learned. They will not learn as long as we restrict our reaction to principles, good words, admonitions. Now, the day for those is over. We're just going to assume until they stop doing it. And I pledge that to you, and Mr. Ruff pledges that to you. We won't stop doing this until they stop doing this. Thank you very much for coming out, and we will open the floor to questions.
Were any of your clients asked any, I know you've edited the video, I haven't seen the whole body video, were they ever asked any civil questions? We're here for a dog bite. We understand you may have a dog that bit someone. Can we see your dog?
No.
Never. Did that ever happen?
No. What you saw is the essence of what happened. We didn't leave anything important or significant out.
You mentioned that they were detained. Were they ever charged with anything? Were they held and then released?
They were never charged with anything.
Even though they were accused of committing crimes during the incident.
Yeah.
Vaguely and generally speaking.
No, to be specific, they actually, in the body camera footage, you'll see that the officers allege that these 4 people were the ones that assaulted the officers. One of them actually said that Erica Umana assaulted Corporal Jackson when she squeezed through the doorway to get into her own home. But they were not charged with anything because they hadn't committed a crime.
And they actually talked about it afterwards. They knew what they had done was flagrant. They knew that it was illegal, but they did it anyway. Next question, please.
Mr. Ruff, you mentioned that the officers' supervisors had said the uses of force were justified. Can you explain what part of the disciplinary process that happened during, or what that sort of the context of that decision?
So just generally, anytime an officer uses force, especially, specifically here in Prince George's County, the general orders require that their supervisors review that use of force and determine whether or not it was within reasonable parameters, right? To ensure the quality of the policing that is being put onto the streets in our communities, right? But Prince George's County, and you'll see this in our lawsuit, has habitually used a rubber stamp in reviewing uses of police force, right? If you look at the data that was released in the Henlea case, the race discrimination case that was filed by Prince George's County officers against Prince George's County, that data revealed that it was something like 0.02% of uses of force were determined over a 6-year period to have been unreasonable, which makes no sense when you look at all of the police lawsuits that have been filed and settled by this county for uses of excessive force. So in this situation, the supervisors of these 3 officers looked at this situation, watched the body camera footage, saw them opening this door with a master key, and although they recognized that it was an unauthorized entry, they didn't have the presence of mind to realize that by being unlawfully on this premises, anything that these officers officers did from that point on was unlawful, illegal, and violated these young people's constitutional rights.
You mentioned past lawsuits. You represented the family of William Green. Officer Owen's trial commences today. The jury selection opening arguments tomorrow. What could you say on behalf of that family? And I assume it's no coincidence that you're here today with that trial starting.
Well, it actually is, because we did not mean to divert any attention from the William Green case. But it is what it is. And we're here because this case, too, demands our full attention because of the flagrancy and the indifference and the cruelty and the hostility and the brazenness, just the outrageousness of it all shocks the conscience. And we don't want that to happen anymore in Prince George's County.
Right.
We don't want it to happen to anybody, not just black people or brown people or Asian people or Palestinian people or Jewish people. We don't want it to ever happen again to any human being. The way they treated these people, our clients, lovely people, was subhuman. Subhuman. And we're tired of that. You know, the basis of racism is the belief that people of color are not human. They're subhuman. And that belief persists in many, many, many areas of this country. One of his names is Donald Trump, of course, but that's not why we're here.
Well, let me just...
What can you say on behalf of the Green's family and all that as this trial commences as well?
I was trying to avoid that, Brad.
Well, what I would say is this. We won't speak about the trial, but what I will say is that we have alleged in this lawsuit, as we have in every single one of our previous lawsuits against the county, a pattern and practice of unlawful police conduct, whether it be excessive force, and in this case, unlawful searches and seizures, false arrest, and every single incident in the history of this police department builds to that pattern and practice. And of course, the acts of Corporal Michael Owen, not only against William Green, but also against our other clients that we settled a lawsuit in June of this year for $1.5 million for the 4 people that Owen brutalized in 2019, the 12 months before he shot and killed William Green. All of those cases are built on the fact that Prince George's County has turned a blind eye to the widespread police misconduct within this department, and that has harmed our clients, that has injured our clients. That depravity, that deliberate indifference to their rights is the reason why we're here today. It's not just about these line officers, these patrol officers who violated our clients. It's about the culture of this police department that fed into these officers believing exactly what Billy said, that they would not face any reprimand, that they could get away with it. And that's why we're here today, to make sure that they do not get away with it, and they shall not get away with it.
Yes, sir.
Have you represented any other clients, or this notion that they got the maintenance key? I'm curious if that is something that you had ever heard of or represented anybody for. And then my second question is a little bit more technical, legal, but given can you just kind of square the circle of the probable cause that the officers, in your mind, thought they had versus the violation of the Fourth Amendment, given the circumstances of what they were investigating?
They didn't think they had probable cause. They didn't think they needed probable cause. They didn't think that they needed a warrant. They thought that all they had to do was get the keys from the super and go in there brazenly. You saw that they didn't respect the length of time that it took for people to come to the door before they brazenly opened it on their own. They didn't give the occupants inside any advance warning. And so that's what happened here.
Can you give me your first question again?
And that is whether or not there's a history that we know of this kind of door opening by super.
That's right. So not in Prince George's County, but in Baltimore, I actually handled a criminal case in Canton where a police officer called a maintenance man to the door in order to get inside to investigate the smell of marijuana. We filed a motion to suppress under the Fourth Amendment, and all of the CDS that was discovered in that case was suppressed from that trial. My client was found not guilty because it is a fundamental, basic civil right, right? This is not anything complex. This is the basics. This is like the text of the Fourth Amendment. The warrants must be obtained or you cannot go in. That is it. If there's no exception, then you are in violation of the Constitution, and that is exactly what these officers did. Any police officer should know this, and these officers certainly did know, or if they didn't know, that's even more proof of the systematic cultural issues in this department.
Malcolm, do you have any knowledge of what happened with the IA investigation and whether charges were recommended to the state's attorney's office, and if anything, you're alleging they committed a crime by entering without a warrant? Did any criminal charges?
To my knowledge, no criminal charges were ever brought.
Do you know why?
I do not. But I certainly will be looking to figure out in our discovery process as we move through this litigation.
I just wanted to follow that up with the state's attorney's office has said that they didn't feel the officers' actions here met the threshold of criminal liability. I just wanted to get your response to that.
Well, I love Aisha Brave Boy, but I beg to differ fundamentally with anybody who has ever seen this video who thinks that this doesn't rise to the level of outrageous police misconduct. And so I'm at a loss. And I'd be willing to debate this with her if she wants to debate it publicly. We can go through the footage line by line, frame by frame. She states her position, I state mine, and you know what's going to happen then. She will be discredited because of what she said. I don't want that to happen to her. I think a lot of her as a public official. But that's an outrageous thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been somebody, any regular person on the street who had convinced the maintenance man to give them a key to someone's apartment and broke in, they would be under the jail. And so police officers do not deserve extra due process or extra consideration when it comes to obeying the law. They should have been prosecuted.
I wanted to ask about the timing of filing now. Is this a part of waiting to see what the department might do with these officers? You talked about the idea that they had been on suspension.
No, it has nothing to do with...
discuss the kind of the timing of why now.
The timing had nothing to do with the officer that was involved in the Green case. Nothing to do with that. This is a separate matter.
I'm not asking about the Green case. I'm asking about why file this case right now? Were you waiting for the process in Prince George's County for the police department to be looking at their own internal investigation, for the state's attorney's office to have a look at it? Why are you filing this civil suit now? Was there timing linked to official investigations?
So just like there are internal investigations about police misconduct, when we take on a case, we do our own investigation as well. And a lot of that involves trying to get information from municipalities that don't necessarily want to give that information up or are having a hard time giving that information to us. So I can tell you that we've been trying to get information about this case consistently since it happened, since we were hired by these young folks. And we actually didn't get this body camera footage, even though we requested it back in 2021, until sometime middle of this year. So we don't file lawsuits lightly, right? We don't go out